Most of us know the heavy weight of an irreversible choice. We look back at a moment where the road split, wishing we could carry today's knowledge back to that earlier self. This desire to revisit the past is actually a signal. It highlights our need for better perspective, a way to see the causal landscape before the consequences become permanent. True foresight is the disciplined ability to read those causal hinges while the doors are still open. It allows a person to examine the foundations of a choice before the structure is built. Ordinary time feels unfair because the weight of our actions usually stays hidden until it is too late to change them. We recognize turning points only when they are behind us. First principles thinking strips away the noise of borrowed language and unexamined assumptions. It returns us to the smallest working parts of a situation to see what is actually true. This perspective moves in three directions. We look backward to reconstruct causes, sideways to compare alternatives, and forward to explore conditional scenarios. Historical facts are fixed, but the lens we use to interpret them can be rebuilt. Changing how we understand the past provides a clearer view of the present. Reconstructing our logic today ensures we stop paying the toll for the same unexamined errors. Reality contains more detail than any mind can process. Every interaction, environmental factor, and hidden variable creates a landscape too complex for intuition alone. We manage this complexity by using models. A model is a purposeful compression, a tool that intentionally removes information to isolate a useful pattern. Consider a traveler. They need roads and boundaries, ignoring the biography of every tree. By choosing what to ignore, a model isolates patterns otherwise lost in the noise. These frameworks provide a simplified structure to help us estimate what to expect next. A model can perform its logic perfectly and still lead to failure if its underlying data is shaped by unseen bias. The calculation remains accurate, but the result is misleading. Every model stands on sentences that may never have been spoken. These are assumptions, the invisible bridges between what we observe and what we claim will happen. Relying on unexamined assumptions is like building a house on untested soil. The architecture may be flawless, but the foundation is fatal. The assumption lantern asks us to shine light on the data, the target, and the expected human response. It forces us to ask what must remain stable for our plan to work. Exposing a hidden assumption creates more value than optimizing an equation. An invisible dependence is the most dangerous element of any plan. There is a modern temptation to treat data as a way to retrieve facts from the future, as if massive amounts of information could guarantee a single, certain destiny. Treat a simulation as a laboratory for testing conditions. It allows us to construct a baseline world and observe how it responds to different choices. Using a forecast to pack an umbrella is an exploration of a possible scenario. It prepares the traveler without claiming to control the sky. Responsible simulations help us compare consequences. They reveal the specific points where our logic is fragile and needs to be strengthened. Moving through these simulated futures require adaptation. Human systems develop through changes in capacity, rather than jumping instantly to a finished state. Feedback is the bridge between a failed attempt and future improvement. It is information used to guide a specific change. Storing outcomes is just keeping a diary. Learning begins when the measured distance of an error is used to correct the next move. Without this loop, machines and humans repeat their habits with increasing confidence, gaining familiarity without gaining skill. Growth is the accumulation of small, useful corrections guided by honest feedback over time. Computational models can expand our search space, but they do not remove the weight of the final decision. A model might rank maintenance jobs by estimated failure risk. It can identify which machines resemble earlier failures, but it cannot decide how much risk a hospital or a community should tolerate. Judgment remains a human responsibility. It is the act of deciding which simulated outcomes are suitable, responsible, and worth pursuing. When an algorithm identifies a pattern, a person must still interpret its consequence. These tools provide the evidence, but the human remains accountable for the choice. This architecture turns foresight into a practical method, building simplified models, exposing hidden assumptions, and refining every attempt through feedback. By preparing the mind today, we can build a sharper view of learning and move past the weight of old regrets. Tomorrow exists as a field of conditional doors. We can learn to read the hinges today by improving the quality of the questions we ask. To begin building this toolkit for yourself, read the complete book. It provides the first principles needed to think clearly and act with responsibility right now.